Good morning. Today is February the 2nd, 2023. I'm not surprised that since I'm wrapping up my tenancy at this house, that I'm still reflective on my parents, my folks. And I thought today I would give you a bit of three interesting moments that I had with them. They're movie nights that I spent with my parents. The preamble would be that my folks were not big on television, certainly not movies, or movies on television, yes, but not at the theater, for instance. But dad, they worked a hobby farm, including livestock, gardening, all of that. Mom used to do the preserving. Dad did the upkeep of the livestock. They had busy lives. Like when they weren't working, like to earn money, they were working on the farm to live the lifestyle they chose. So when it comes to movies and whatnot, sorry, I'm skewed here with my. I apologize. So when they're usually downtime would be, of course, in the evenings and stuff like that, and every once in a while we'd watch mostly TV shows. Dad with his news, like as far as he like that's his television time was news time. Mom a little bit more flexibility, but they really didn't have time for movies. That said, I do remember three distinct, actually showing up for three distinct movie nights that I had with my folks, and they were sort of fun. One, this one was bizarre. If you know the movie Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, came out I think in '64, my year of my birth, and I happened, 15 years ago or something like that. So now they're older and stuff like that, and it was on, and I'm watching it, and then they joined me. And that was rare for them to, of course, now they're retired and stuff like that. So they actually had the time to kill and watch a movie. If you know anything about that movie, that movie is an old married couple bickering and carrying on. And if you know the movie and you know my folks and you know me, you know why being in watching that movie with them was memorable, because unfortunately there is an element of George and Martha with Zakia and Kretzi. It is what it is. They loved each other. No, I'm not, no shade there, but they had a certain way of, if you know the George and Martha marriage, that's their marriage at times. So watching it with them was fun because it was like the mirror. But and of course, and it was bizarre. If you know the movie, it has a bizarre ending and that confused them to no end. But what's interesting to me is they made it through to the end. Because especially Dad, he's one that if you don't hook him, he's got things to do. That's my dad. Speaking of my dad, I think this was in the aughts. I'm guess, or maybe the early teens. SEAL 6 9, the story of Osama bin Laden and the team that went in and how they did it, and from both the CIA point of view and then the on ground, the SEAL team that took him in. And I was watching it, and then all of a sudden, Dad out of nowhere shows up, and he sits down, and now he's totally engaged. I mean, and I'm not surprised because that is his kind of. It's current events. It's current. It just happened. The capture. It didn't just happen, but you know what I mean. Like it was a big deal and in the news and all that kind of stuff. And he was thoroughly engaged. And again, if you know my dad, you know that the hook was in there and the storyline worked, and we chatted about it, and all he remembered and all that kind of stuff. It was a cool moment, like father and son sharing a, especially for Dad. You got to know he's a pacifist. Okay, so he's watching in essence a war movie, but it's also a historical movie, and it was a cool. As you can see, it still brings a smile to my face remembering that I shared this moment with Dad, because it was very rare to have him make the time for a movie and with his kid. And it was sort of cool. the last one, pardon with the stuttering, I'm sorry, but this one was funny. Well, charming, but funny. So, if you're familiar with the movie Psycho, which is all about interesting son and a very bizarre relationship with mom, and the drama ensues, right? It's a very obvious, it's a classic and all that kind of stuff. So I'm watching it one of those days, and all of a sudden, mom shows up out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh my god, because the movie was just starting, right? And it's like, really, I'm gonna be watching Psycho with my mom. I mean, you got to know the dynamics of a mom and I. Of course, she's gonna enjoy the movie, but if you know the context of the movie, it's going to be an interesting movie to watch with a son, with a mom. I don't know. It's a different ball of wax watching that movie with your uh, peer group or siblings, but with just your mom, it makes it and made it an interesting experience. So there you go. That's a little faster than I thought that I was going to. And if I have an honorable mention, and I did make a movie, a video about this earlier, but I just didn't post it for whatever reason. I'll keep it for the archives. There was one, and this is typical dad and son moment. Um, in that I'm watching, if you're familiar with it, Father of the Bride, the old one, I think in 1948, if I'm not mistaken. That movie was Father of the Bride. So it's with Spencer Tracy, Elizabeth Taylor, and I think Joan Bennett, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm watching the movie, okay, and Dad shows up. He obviously would have just done chores or whatever, not housework, but yard work or the guy stuff, the father stuff that you do when you own a house, a farm. So I'm watching this movie, and he shows up. I'm sure with him, and actually it turned out I was right, but it turned out with him like he was kind of exhausted, and he probably just needed a little bit of what do you call that, resuscitation time, and then he was going to go off and do whatever he wanted. But there's my kid watching a movie. I might as well sit down and kill the time here. I might as well kill it here or lie down on a sofa. You know what I'm saying. Anyways, turns out, and this is just serendipity, turns out he actually showed up while I'm watching the scene where, if you know the movie, it's a very funny movie. It's a great movie. But there's one scene in particular where Spencer Tracy, the father, is having the engagement party at his house, and he's a bartender. And if you know the movie, you know that scene is slapstick funny. Like, it is just, he's overwhelmed and he's trying to everyone's asking for special drinks with crushed ice and hold of vermouth and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And he's like juggling it all and losing his mind, and it was very slapstick. So I'm watching it, chuckling, having a good time, and then behind me, Dad's lying down on the sofa watching it. He starts roaring. Just, you got to know Dad. Like, I mean, he had a sense of humor, of course, but it was uniquely to him. He had a very interesting sense of humor. But he obviously was going to find this funny. I just didn't think he would find it so funny he was busting a gut. And that was a cool moment. And just to wrap it up, of course, when that scene was done and the movie took a slower turn, concentrating more on the drama, all that kind of stuff, Dad, peace out. I'm gone. I had my chuckle. I had my moment. I'm done. I got things to do. So anyways, that, for whatever reason, this is on my mind. I'm not surprised. Like I said, my stay at this house, his house, is coming to an end, and that's what's on my mind. That's what I decided to share with you, and that's what's behind the patch this morning. I will talk to you guys later. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day.